Oh, hey, Dene Halatau.
Pete, how are you, mate?
West Tigers great, Kiwi International.
Yeah, I guess.
Fancy running into you on my training run for the New York City Marathon for Lifeline.
Yeah, well, I'm just hanging out, reminiscing about old times when I used to be a football player and now retired. And
where are we, by the way? I've been running all day. I wouldn't have a clue where I am.
Yeah, we're at Concord Oval. It's the training base for the West Tigers. As I said, just remembering where I used to run around the field.
Memories. We might actually, now that I got the chance, I might actually talk to you about some of those memories and maybe some things that are happening for you in the future too.
Yeah.
So, one of the things you're involved in big time in your playing days and even now, mental health. How did you get into that, mate?
Yeah, so the NRL a couple of years ago sent an email out to all the clubs just asking if anyone was keen to jump on board with the State of Mind campaign that they were about to launch, and it was all voluntary. Yeah. Myself and Keith Galloway at the time, we put our hands up and we decided to get on board and try and, I guess, give some of our knowledge and assistance to the program.
Yeah, so in the time that you were doing that mental health work, what did you learn about yourself? What did you feel that you accomplished with the other players?
Look, I sort of identified with myself, some of the times where I guess I was going through some difficulties and how I could sort of relate that to the young guys and where they might be at with their own careers and some of the ups and downs that they're facing as rugby league players. And I sort of felt like there was a responsibility for guys like myself, older guys that have been around for a while, to try and help those guys to, I guess, break down the stigma of mental health and to seek help if they needed it.
Yeah, so a lot of pressure from week to week, got to win, got to get in the squad, etc., etc. How did you handle it, and what kind of advice were you giving to the young guys about how to handle that stress, that pressure?
Look, it was something that I battled with all the way up until my last game, was that game day pressure and wanting to be in the side every week. Selection, I think, is probably the first thing that comes up is when you're trying to get picked in a team of 17, there's 30 blokes there. It's not always going to go well for everyone. So that whole preparing yourself and training every day to become the best footballer you can become, and then wait then for selection in the team. It is very tough sometimes.
Yeah.
Some guys deal with it easily because they've got that natural gift of talent, and I guess they can. They're very resilient to the good times and the bad. But for myself, every week was waiting on selection. I never counted myself in the team at any point, and I managed it just by making sure I prepared well and made sure that I had good balance in my life.
Okay, balance, really important topic. How do you achieve that balance, you reckon, in your personal life nowadays? And what advice would you give to young guys coming through the game now about getting that balance? How do you do it?
Look, it's again, it's hard when you're a youngster and you come into the NRL system. Yeah. Everything's football, and you sort of make that your whole life. You think, I've got to do everything based on what's best for my football. But as I've grown and found a partner, become married, had children, I've realised that football's great and it's everything that I wanted to do, but everything else was for my family. So trying to find the balance was when I get away from football, to completely switch off from it. Find something else to do, get other interests that take your attention away from that day in, day out grind, and also in NRL trying to stay up for for the weekend, for the game is quite difficult, trying to be at that high level all the time. So just having something else that really can occupy your attention and keep you passionate.
Yeah, look, and that's a big lifeline message too, is having that sense of connection to several things to keep yourself of sound mind, etc., etc. But let's talk about football a little bit. Kiwi International, West Tigers great. You played at 4 or 5 separate positions over the course of your career. Won a premiership in 2005. If you had to pick one moment that actually stood out for you, that you could put in a bottle and just keep forever, what would be that football moment?
Look, it's definitely winning the premiership in 2005. That feeling after the game is something that I chased for the rest of my career. Just knowing how good it is to get to the end of working so hard through the pre-season, through the season, with a bunch of guys that you spend a lot of blood, sweat and tears with, and to get to that point at the end was just an amazing feeling. I remember being breathless for about 4 or 5 minutes after the game, just because I knew we'd won it. And as I said, just for the rest of my career, I searched for it again, and I wasn't lucky enough to win another one, but I was definitely very fortunate to win one throughout my career. So that sits up there pretty high. And something else was special was playing my first ever Test match for the Kiwis. Yep. It was over in England, and
were you and Benji in that same team together?
No, I actually started before Benji. I was a little bit older, but Yeah, my first year was in 2004,
Yeah.
and my parents got flown over for the game, and they literally rocked up straight from a plane, a train, to the stadium 10 minutes before
Fantastic,
kickoff,
mate.
and I remember sitting there singing the anthem and seeing them in the stands. It was a pretty special moment.
Fantastic, fantastic. So football's still part of your life. You got some news about your next phase in football.
Yeah, I've picked up a role here at the West Tigers. So, it's with the Wellbeing Education team. The title I've been given is Leadership and Cultural Coordinator. So basically it's working with players across all 3 grades and particularly the leadership group, and trying to develop their skills as leaders and also develop a culture in the club as a whole. I guess it's a bit of a mentoring role, and I'll be helping out the Wellbeing Education guys with the day-to-day stuff as well, making
Fantastic.
sure the boys are happy and healthy, and you know we're heading in the same direction as a club.
Fantastic. Well, look, just on that, a couple of years ago we had some real tragedy in the game, particularly with some of the younger Pacifica players. We had a couple of suicides in league. Do you think that we've responded as a community and as a code in the right way, and are we doing enough to support those young people, particularly Pacifica kids?
Yeah, look, I think it's definitely improving, and I think the past few years, especially with the startup of the State of Mind ambassadors, it's definitely created, I guess, a bridge for the young Pacifica players to seek help if they do need it, and also it's made players a little more aware of what's around them and looking out for each other. I think that's number one thing that I kind of take out of my role in the State of Mind is that you got to look out for each other as players. You look out for each other on the field when you're trying to cover someone's inside for a tackle, or you're chasing someone down that's made a break, and it's no different off the field when you're in your day-to-day life. We notice changes in boys pretty easy. Very intuitive football players. You read each other well, and there's a good understanding of what drives Pacifica players and their background and their families, and I think the awareness amongst the playing groups definitely improved. And if the NRL continues along the path it's going, hopefully we don't see some of those tragedies again.
And 2 good words you mentioned there: awareness and looking after each other. And that's not just true in football; it's true in life. With our mates and our friends and stuff like that. And sure enough, referring people to Lifeline as well. If you can't feel you can help, have them call Lifeline. Well, let's talk a little bit about my marathon, mate. As one athlete to another, was one natural athlete to another natural athlete. So you just told me before, no, we didn't see each other before, but you kind of told me before that you haven't trained a day in the last 7 weeks. Is that right?
Yeah, well, I've played Oztag twice, but no preparation for it whatsoever, and no training.
And look at me, I've trained every day for the last 7 weeks. So look at the two of us. 7 weeks no training, 7 weeks everyday training.
There might be a little bit of an age difference as well. That it just keeps me just hanging on there a little bit.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So big games, 2005 grand final. How did you actually prepare for it? That's the advice that I want going into the marathon in 3 weeks in New York City. How should I be thinking? How should I be preparing?
Well, I don't know if this is good advice, but I'll tell you a story about the grand final. So throughout the whole final series, I had Benji Marshall and Robbie Farah staying at my place the night before all finals games, and Benji would rock up, Robbie would cook food for us.
All right.
We'd set up some beds around the house, and I don't know how the boys did it because I slept in my nice comfy bed, but they were sleeping on fold-out lounges on light mattresses, and they were roughing it, I guess, getting ready for the biggest games of our careers. But the night before the grand final, I was a nervous wreck. I was like, biggest game of my career. I was only 22 at the time, and I was just really edgy getting ready for it. But Benji went to his best mate's 21st, I think it was at the time. He got home at about 11:30, but on the way home he rang us up and he goes, "You boys want me to pick you up something from Macca's?" And we've gone, "You can't be serious, we're playing a grand final tomorrow." And he goes, no, I'm just coming home now. I'm going to drive through and pick something up. So he's rocked up to my place at about 11:30, a quarter to 12, with a bag full of Macca's. None for us, just all for himself. We declined it. And he's come out in the grand final and pulled off that magical pass as he did. And,
Kachuk,
and made a big piece of rugby league history there. So, I don't know if it's good advice, but ripping us some Macca's the night before and it might keep you going.
There you go. So when I met with Mike Baird, the Premier, he told me that I was supposed to eat pastrami sandwiches.
Yeah, okay.
And now I've got Dene Halatau telling me that I'm supposed to eat Macca's the night before the McDonald's. So I've got a big decision to make. So Dene Halatau, thank you very much, Mike. Thank you for everything you do for mental health. Thank you for all the support you've been giving Lifeline. Mate, you're a great role model. More people like you in the game, more people like you in the community. It really makes a huge difference.
Thanks, Pete, and good luck, mate.
Thanks. And I'd love to give you a shirt, but I don't know if I've got one. Oh, look at that. Jeez, where did that come from? I have no idea. So there you go, Dean. Thanks very much.
That's awesome.
Thanks, guys. See you in New York.
Cheers, Pete.